Throughout history, mummies have been treated as silent relics. Wrapped bodies behind glass, dry skin, empty eyes. But not all mummies are dead in the same way. Some were preserved on purpose, some by accident, and some were never meant to be found at all. Because across ancient civilizations, certain bodies were not buried for peace. They were sealed to contain something dangerous, a curse, a spirit, a punishment. And the strangest mummies in history are not famous because of how they look, but because of what people believed they still carried inside. One of the most disturbing examples comes from ancient Egypt. A mummy discovered with its mouth wide open, frozen in a silent scream. No peaceful expression, no closed eyes, no ceremonial calm, just terror. For years, archaeologists believed this was bad preservation, but later scans revealed something worse. The jaw had been forced open before death. The tongue was pressed forward, the muscles locked in agony. This person did not die naturally. They were executed and then deliberately mummified like this, not to honor them, but to curse them. In Egyptian belief, the mouth was needed to speak in the afterlife, to defend yourself during judgment, to deny your sins. A sealed mouth meant a sealed soul. This mummy was preserved so the person would remain trapped in silence forever, a punishment that lasted eternity. Another strange mummy was found bound in twisted ropes, with arms crossed behind the back instead of on the chest. Not royal posture, not respectful. This was the burial of a criminal. In some ancient cultures, criminals were mummified not to save them, but to prevent them from returning. An unburied body could become a ghost. A properly wrapped one became a prisoner. The linen was not protection, it was containment. Even more disturbing are the so-called bog mummies found in Northern Europe. Bodies preserved in acidic swamps for thousands of years.
Skin still soft, hair still attached, faces frozen in pain. Many of them were sacrificed, their throats cut, necks broken, stomachs filled with ritual meals before death. They were not victims of crime, they were offerings. And the bog was not a grave, it was a portal. Ancient people believed these places connected to gods of death. The bodies were sent there to carry messages or to never return. Some bog mummies show multiple execution methods at once: strangulation, stabbing, drowning. Not overkill, symbolism. A triple death meant the soul was destroyed in every realm: earth, water, spirit. No resurrection, no memory, no afterlife. Complete erasure. But the strangest mummies are not always human. In Egypt, millions of animals were mummified: cats, baboons, crocodiles, fish, snakes. Some were sacred, others were cursed. Certain animals were believed to absorb evil. They were fed offerings, prayed to, and then killed and sealed inside tombs, not as gods, as containers. The evil was not destroyed, it was locked away inside flesh. Some mummies were even created empty, fake bodies wrapped in linen with no remains inside. Archaeologists believe these were ritual decoys, spiritual traps meant to mislead demons, or to confuse angry spirits searching for their real body. But ancient curses did not stop at burial. Some mummies were actively weaponized. In Egypt, curse tablets were placed inside tombs, spells designed to attack grave robbers, to cause blindness, madness, slow wasting illness. These were not myths. Real texts exist. Threats carved in stone. Death shall come on swift wings to anyone who disturbs this tomb. Not poetic, legal, religious, real. And some curses were far worse. Names were erased from inscriptions. Faces were scratched out. Statues smashed. This was not vandalism. It was spiritual execution. In ancient belief, the name was part of the soul.
Destroy the name, and the person could never be reborn. They would wander without identity, a ghost without memory, the ultimate punishment. And sometimes, mummies themselves were cursed. Bodies of traitors were wrapped incorrectly, organs placed in the wrong order, amulets removed. Not mistakes, intentional sabotage. The goal was not preservation, it was spiritual dismemberment. A body that looked intact but could never function beyond death. And the worst part is this: many of these mummies were not ancient. Some were created in later periods. Even in medieval times, people continued to mummify criminals, witches, and enemies. Not for science, for fear. Because they believed some souls were too dangerous to let decompose. And this fear did not disappear with time, it evolved. When archaeologists began opening ancient tombs, a new kind of terror was born. The belief that the dead were still watching. In 1922, the tomb of Tutankhamun was opened. Shortly after, several members of the expedition died under strange circumstances. Infections, heart failure, mysterious fevers. The newspapers called it the curse of the Pharaoh. Scientists dismissed it, but the idea remained. Because ancient people truly believed tombs were protected by more than stone. Some sarcophagi contained written spells aimed directly at future intruders. They described punishments in detail: blindness, infertility, madness, sudden death. Not symbolic, practical, and these were not rare. Over 100 curse inscriptions have been documented in Egyptian tombs. The purpose was not revenge, it was preservation. Fear was the strongest security system in the ancient world. But perhaps the strangest mummies ever discovered are children. Infant mummies found buried alone, without names, without offerings. Some were wrapped in animal skins instead of linen. Some had their heads separated from the body. Others were buried under house floors. Not accidental. In many ancient cultures, children were sacrificed to prevent disasters: drought, plague, war. They were believed to be closer to gods, more pure, more effective as offerings, and their bodies were preserved not to remember them, but to maintain cosmic balance. In South America, frozen child mummies were found on mountain peaks, perfectly preserved, dressed in ceremonial clothing. They were drugged, taken to high altitudes and left to freeze. Not murdered in anger, sacrificed in silence. Their bodies became messengers between worlds. Some cultures believed these children still guarded the land, still watching, still listening. And perhaps the most disturbing practice of all was living mummification. In some religious traditions, monks attempted to mummify themselves while alive. They stopped eating, drank toxic resins, sat in sealed chambers, meditated until death.
The goal was to preserve the body without embalming, to become immortal through will alone. Many failed. Their bodies rotted, collapsed, were removed. But a few succeeded, perfectly preserved, not corpses, monuments of slow suicide. But ancient curses were not limited to death. Some were designed to follow families, generational curses, bloodline punishments. If someone angered a god, the curse would not stop with them. It would infect their children, their grandchildren, their entire lineage. Disease, infertility, madness, all interpreted as spiritual consequences, not coincidence. And mummies became symbols of these fears. They were no longer just dead people. They were evidence that something survived, something remembered, something waited. Even today, museums report strange incidents, security systems failing around certain mummies, visitors fainting, sudden panic attacks, nightmares. Psychological explanations exist, but the stories persist because humans are wired to fear preserved bodies. A skeleton is honest. A mummy looks alive. And that is deeply wrong to the human brain. It breaks the natural rule of decay. And anything that resists decay feels unnatural, possibly dangerous. Which is why ancient people did not see mummies as dead. They saw them as paused, not finished, not gone, still present, still capable of influence. And that is the true reason curses existed, not because people wanted revenge, but because they feared the dead had unfinished business. A mummy was not a memory. It was a threat that needed to be controlled, sealed, wrapped, bound with spells. Because the greatest fear across all civilizations was not monsters, not demons, not hell. It was the idea that death itself was not stable, that some souls never left, and that certain bodies were never meant to return to dust. The strangest mummies in history are not strange because of how they died. They are strange because people believed they were never truly dead at all. And ancient curses were not about punishment. They were about containment, a desperate attempt to lock fear inside flesh and hope it never wakes up.